Good morning, everyone. Allow me to start by saying this program is brought to you by Carquinez Village, which is a nonprofit membership organization founded by older adults for older adults to connect, support, and inspire one another as they age. A virtual organization that offers a range of support services to assist members in times of need and a calendar of stimulating activities to engage members' minds. Today, we are joined by three gentlemen who work for the organization that brought a state-of-the-art cannabis dispensary to Benicia in September 2021 called STIIZY. STIIZY started in 2017 with a flagship store in downtown LA. Since then, 24 other stores have opened up across California, leading the industry with its immaculate showroom, its exceptional customer service, and its community involvement. Please allow me to introduce William Miller, General Manager of the Benicia store, Lorenzo Martinez, Field Trainer for STIIZY, and Ricky Crichton, Assistant District Manager. The combined experience of these gentlemen provide many years of retail experience in general and cannabis expertise in particular. Without further ado, I'll turn the Zoom over to William and Lorenzo.
All right, good morning, everybody. Thanks so much for being here. Mr. Mayor, thank you so much for joining. I know your time is valuable. Thanks everybody for being here. First up, can everybody hear me okay? Are the transcripts going all right? Everything good?
Yep, good.
Okay, great. Okay, then we're just going to go ahead and get on started. You guys have heard a little bit about us. I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Lorenzo just to give you guys a little bit of a background about what STIIZY is, where we came from, what we're doing now, and then we're going to dive right in to our product knowledge and what we're talking about today.
How you doing, everybody? So what I'm going to try and do right now is I'm going to try and share my screen, and I'm going to mirror. I'm going to show you guys where I'm going to show you this. Yes, share that. All right, guys. So real quick, I'm just going to pull up a little. There we go. So this is a little just we're talking about where STIIZY's come from and where STIIZY's going. We can do, let's see, there we are. Just want to make it big. All right, guys. So we did start. So STIIZY, what's popular about STIIZY is initially, and we'll dive into this a little bit deeper once we get into what our product types are like. But what STIIZY was kind of founded on was there's a technology out there that utilizes vape cartridges. And these vape cartridges, the technology you have a battery and you have a cartridge, and then you have to screw them into each other for it to work. And like I said, we'll get a lot deeper into what's in that cartridge. Essentially, it's just a concentrated form of cannabis. And so what you do is you screw it into this battery, and then you can take this cannabis on the go, and you can take this concentrator and you can take a hit out on the street. So it made the technology made it very mobile. But STIIZY said there's got to be an easier way because these batteries and these cartridges were very finicky. So what STIIZY did was they built and they created this very unique pod rather than a cartridge. And so the pod it's a proprietary pod that fits into our proprietary battery. So unfortunately, they're not interchangeable. You do have to come to the STIIZY side to see, what we're offering. But you plug it into the pod and it's a much more consistently big hit. It's a much more tasty hit because we have a couple different tiers of pods that utilize different terpenes, botanical and cannabis. They give you a wide range of flavors. And through that, we started gaining a lot of traction. And it really shook up the industry because nobody had really ever seen that kind of product. And now that we've been out for a few years, there are imitators, duplicators, but no replicators, So there's another brand called STIIZY, and there's another brand called PAX. There's a brand called Moxie that also utilize a similar pod technology, but similar to us, it is a proprietary technology and battery. So you would have to buy a Moxie battery or a PAX battery if you wanted to use a Moxie pod or a Dart pod. So if you wanted to use a STIIZY pod, you'd have to buy a STIIZY battery. That being said, we really started gaining some traction. And then in 2018, we had gained so much traction that in every store in California that was able to sell cannabis, they were selling one of our products. Every licensed store in Canada, every licensed cannabis store in California had some form of STIIZY product on their shelves in 2018. And then we were doing so well in 2019, we kind of took over, or 2018 was our retail takeover. 2019, we decided we're doing it so well, we want to open our own retail store. So we opened our first retail store in downtown Los Angeles in 2019. So that's like our first baby. And it's a massive store. It's really big. They have I think like 15 cash registers in there, and it does like maybe, you know, almost $500,000 a day or something like that. I think Will is more familiar with the numbers, but it does some big numbers. And so through that, we started expanding in Southern California to another couple stores, and then in 2021 we started coming to Northern California. And so I think some of those numbers that we have there are a little bit outdated as well. This one is one of our old maps here. I'm going to pull up a new one, but you could just take a look right here where we started. All these yellow dots on the bottom represent our retail stores. This green dot is a cultivation spot, a manufacturing spot, and a distribution spot, all in Southern California. And here in the Bay Area, you can see that's where we just started to expand. This is a more updated version. So you'll see here on the left, all of our cultivation and manufacturing, distribution, and retail spots that are to come, or that are at least planned. We've done a big takeover in the last year of like the IE and the Inland Empire of Southern California, and we really are trying to expand here in Northern California. As mentioned, I'm one of the field trainers, so that job kind of helps. I'm one of the grand opening field trainers rather. So like I helped open up the Benicia store before Will was on board, and then Will came and really took it and helps it shine. That's a quick show of that. These are some of our reviews, and then we get into product types. But do we want to get Will? Do we want to show them any videos about like Cindy, the other store, or like our partners with the Weed for Warriors or anything like that?
You know, I think in the interest of time, I think what everybody's really curious about is just getting right into that CBD knowledge. So
absolutely,
I think we can just get right into, you know, what is THC, what is CBD? You know, that's everybody's $1 million question, right?
Excellent, perfect. All right, so let's hop right into it, guys. So the product knowledge, there's a couple steps, and we'll get into all the cannabinoids right now. So there's a male and a female plant. I don't know if everybody's familiar with this or had even any knowledge of this. When you see CBD products at like Walgreens or CVS or anything like that, all that CBD is coming from the male plant. This is hemp right here. If anybody's ever heard of hemp, like any hemp lotions or hemp paper, hemp rope, you don't have to have a license in California to sell or manufacture hemp because it's completely legal. You cannot get high or anything off of this, right? You can utilize it, like I said, for rope, paper, other things, even extract some CBD from it. But you do need a license to sell anything from the female plant, which is over here on the left. And so you can tell the difference because the male plant has all these pods, and these pods are filled with pollen, and those pollen, that pollen helps cross-pollinate all of the female plants, which is how we get different strains. But you'll see here on the left that this female plant has hairs, it has all these crystals, and it's these crystals which are called trichomes that house two different things, cannabinoids and terpenes, and that's kind of like what drives our high, and that's kind of where the magic happens in our body. So next slide here, guys, we've got trichomes. That's what these little resin spots are. That's what all those little crystally shiny dots are on the actual plant, and that's what's actually sticky. So trichomes are the resin glands that naturally occur on all cannabis terpenes and a lot of plant terpenes as well. So if anybody has ever touched like aloe or any kind of like lavender, all that sticky stuff are little forms of trichomes that house two different things. And the two different things that they house are not cannabinoids for naturally occurring plants like lavender, but like for cannabis specifically, these things house two things, cannabinoids and terpenes. So terpenes are just the flavor. These are naturally occurring in lavender, in mint, in strawberry, all these things. And we'll dive into why we introduce terpenes right now a little bit later, because again, we do have 3 different tiers of pods that are flavored a little bit differently. So with these terpenes here that are, and if I'm going too fast, guys, please, somebody, raise a hand or, let me know, because I will absolutely slow down. I'm in the interest of time, I'm just trying to get through a lot of info. But yeah, so terpenes, they're the active chemical compound responsible for the taste and smell of every individual strain. And you can find them in, like I said, naturally occurring in all sorts of things. But then when we talk about specifically, oh, these are the botanical versions. So yes, I haven't given these slides in a while. I kind of lost track. Sorry, guys. The botanical terpenes are the terpenes that come from any plant that's not cannabis, and they can provide a wide variety of flavors such as strawberry, lavender, and mint. So again, we have 3 tiers of pods, and that's why we teach these terpenes, because one tier uses these terpenes for excellent flavor. These are our OG pods, right? And they'll have green leaves on the box, and there's full and half grams, but again, you can ask any of the bud tenders what all that means in terms of size. But what it means for flavor is that they have like a really strong strawberry flavor, or they'll have like a really strong like berry, they're very fruity and tasty. The next ones we have are our CDT pods, and that's like our second tier pods. So those have like silver leaves, and instead of being flavored with cannabis, or flavored with botanical terpenes, they're flavored with cannabis. So if you're more attuned into, if you don't want such like a fruity berry taste with, when you're using our pods, you can get something that's a little bit more tuned into something that's like a plant. So if you're looking for like a sour diesel plant, if you're familiar with that strain and that flavor, or if you're looking for like a Kush flavor and you're familiar with that strain and flavor, you can look into that as well. And then there is a third tier, but we'll get into that a little bit later. What it is, it's called live resin, and it's just a different kind of extraction than the first 2 pods use. So where are we? So cannabinoids. I'm gonna move this. I got you. No, come on. So cannabinoids, the other item that's that's housed is cannabinoids. They are the active chemical compound that's found in the marijuana plant responsible for bodily effects, the most abundant being THC, CBD, CBN, and THCA. So there are hundreds of cannabinoids that are active, but these are the most abundantly found. I usually call THC like the prettiest girl at the party, but CBD's got plenty to offer, and then we'll get into what CBN and THC actually are. So THC, right out the gate, everybody knows that, or if you don't know, THC is the active chemical, the active cannabinoid that is going to give you like a psychoactive kind of high. So this is something that if you ingest, whether through smoking, whether through eating, you're going to feel some kind of head change. You're going to feel some kind of psychoactive high. We have here listed immediate pain relief and appetite stimulant because this cannabinoid does offer those sensations. So when we ask like, hey, what's your experience with THC, or what's your experience with cannabis? Some people say, hey, I felt really hungry, or I felt really sleepy. One of the things that I always recommend is we offer 2 brands. There's 2 brands called Papa and Barkley, and there's another brand called Mary's Medicinal. Now, both of these brands are wellness brands, and what they offer is most of their products are not designed to get anybody high. What they are designed for is to offer some kind of pain relief. So oftentimes what people think is like CBD is like this catch-all, cure-all pain reliever. And we'll get into what CBD offers, but I'll say this now, the main thing that CBD offers is inflammation relief. It does provide a little bit of pain relief, but it's more reducing inflammation and things like that. Where THC products, even if you're not ingesting them to get that psychoactive feeling, THC products are actually going to provide you that immediate pain relief. So back to those 2 companies, Papa and Barkley and Mary's Medicinal, they have lotions and balms that they offer that are 1 part THC and 1 part CBD. So and they're lotions, so you're putting them on. They're transdermal, which means that they penetrate the skin, but they don't penetrate the bloodstream. So if it penetrates the bloodstream, then you might get THC, and that's what actually makes you high. But if it's just transdermal and it's penetrating your skin, it's going to be penetrating into those muscles and into those nerves and joints. I've bought for my own grandmother a 1-to-1 THC, or 1-to-1 CBD THC Mary's Medicinal, and she uses it for her knuckles, and she says that it provides a lot of pain. Not only am I a longtime user, my dad's a longtime user as well. And he's a child of the 60s and everything. So he's very familiar with cannabis, but learning about these kinds of new products with a 1-to-1 lotion and things like that, he was very interested in that. And the older he gets, he says that it really provides a lot of relief in his hands. And I find that really interesting. The next thing we have is CBD. So CBD, like I said, does provide a lot of, it does have a lot of benefits. It's not just about pain relief or not feeling high. The other things, it's not psychoactive. So there are a lot of CBD products out there that you can ingest that are not going to make you high. They're not designed. That particular cannabinoid is not going to activate any part of your endocannabinoid system and giving you psychoactive effects. It does give you like an anti-anxiety feeling. My girlfriend through the pandemic kind of struggled a lot with anxiety, and then she kind of put cannabis down for a little bit, but she did start eating there's a brand that we have at STIIZY called Wild, and they're an edible brand. They are a brand of gummies. They have a line of different combinations of CBD and THC gummies, and they also have different ratioed ones. So they have ones that are designed to get you high, but they also have like a 20-to-1 or a 1-to-1 or even a 4-to-1, a couple of different options. But my girlfriend, struggling with anxiety, started taking that 20-to-1, which means that it's 20 parts CBD, 1 part THC, very minimal THC. There's not usually going to be a product that's strict, like all 100% CBD. And the reason for that is because as your endocannabinoid system ingests the CBD, it does need a little bit of THC to activate it. But that does not mean that you will be feeling any of those psychoactive effects. As a cannabinoid, they work in tandem to light up those receivers in your body. And so back to the anxiety, she started taking those 20-to-1 gummies, and she started feeling a lot better. She said and the way I describe it as someone who is a cannabis user, it's not so like, I'll smoke something or eat something and it's like, okay, now I feel high. But with CBD, with the CBD product, it's not so much that I notice something, it's more what I don't notice. It's like a subtle feeling. You're not going to feel psychoactively high, but you are going to feel a little bit more relaxed, a little bit. It really rounds off the edges is how I describe it. And then right here, last point that I have is a muscle relaxer. And this is why I talk about it being a inflammation tool. So whether you're a young athlete and you need something after the gym, or if you're got a little bit more wisdom on your clock, then you could definitely use it for any of the inflammation issues that you may have. But again, that's why I always give the info about THC, because a lot of people think CBD will be a bigger cure or a bigger help, a bigger Band-Aid. But I think, again, with the knowledge that THC provides with some of those topicals that we have, I think that there's a lot of benefits there. And I'm just trying to open up some of those doors. So we move on, and then we move on to CBN. So I only have 2 more cannabinoids that I'm going to talk about, and then I'll pass it back to Will and see if we want to talk about anything else. So CBN is another cannabinoid. I call it CB nighttime or CB nap time, because it's really gonna help promote a lot of sleep. So it is mildly psychoactive, because CBN just comes from degraded THC. As when it comes off of the plant, the THC is fresh, and they usually go through a curing process. And then after the curing process, it goes through a manicuring process, and then it makes it into the jars. Once it makes it in the jars, it makes it to our houses, and we put it into our joints and whatever. But if we let it sit out, all that THC on those plants starts to degrade. All those little crystals, as they start to degrade. And as they degrade, they become more sedated. They, instead of being as psychoactive as they were, they become less psychoactive and more sedated. And so back to that brand Wild, it's a gummy brand. They have a specific line of gummies that is a CBN gummy. So all their boxes are white, whether it's CBD or THC, but they have one specific one that's like a dark blue, and it looks like a nap time. It looks like you're going to take it before bed and to cruise out. And again, I've been smoking weed and eating edibles for a number of years and making this. And I remember I tried this and I didn't know what to expect. And it did help me go to sleep. But the one thing that I always talk about and promote about this is that it really helped keep me asleep. When I woke up the next day, I really felt really rested. And like, I didn't smoke. I again, avid smoker, but I choose my times of day. I usually don't like to smoke before bed. But I tried this before bed. And again, I woke up the next day feeling so rested, very like I had entered like a nice deep REM. So it's not, yes, it helps you go to sleep, but one of the things I always say is it helps keep you asleep. So there are different kinds of CBN products out there that you guys can check out and ask any of the sales associates at Benicia. And then the last one we're going to talk about, guys, is THCA. So THCA is a cannabinoid that you can use to mitigate pain, but instead of we were talking about how like CBD provides that inflammation relief, and then we have like the one-to-one THC bombs. There are tinctures and there are THCA bombs as well that do provide that kind of pain relief. But there's a caveat to this one. The only caveat is that, let's say you were interested in taking and buying a THCA tincture, which is like a little like oil or alcohol form that you can take with like a little dropper that comes in it. If you were to take that, you could put it in your mouth, you could put it on your food and you can eat it. But you'll see my graphic here. It's got a little fire and the THCA is converting into THC. If you add heat to THCA, you're creating a chemical change and it's getting rid of that A, making this non-psychoactive cannabinoid psychoactive. So there's a story we tell all the time when we do our trainees about a customer who came into one of my trainers' stores and said, hey, I usually buy this THCA product. I eat it all the time and it really helps me. But the other day I ate it and I got really high and I really wasn't comfortable with that. Like, what's going on? Like, what changed? And so my original trainer heard him out, listened to his story. And he said, well, tell me how you ingested it and tell me how you usually ingest it. He said, well, usually I just put it into my mouth, but today I was on the go. So I put it into my coffee and then I hit the road. And he said, well, was it an iced coffee or was it a hot coffee? He said, it was a hot coffee. I just poured it. So right there, hot coffee, THCA. That heat created a chemical change and made that THCA made that coffee inedible because it changed it. It made it psychoactive with that heat. So now, we want to keep, if we're going to ingest THCA, we want to keep it away from hot food and hot drinks and things like that. We want to just keep it straight into our mouths or into maybe like a cold glass of water or something like that, or anything simple, anything that's not going to heat it up. It says that it provides that long-term pain relief because, like I said, THC is more of a pain reliever than CBD. And if you want to use some THCA to provide some of that pain relief for your joints or for your nerves or anything like that, this is one of those products. I oftentimes kind of market this to like any kind of athlete that has like an old injury. Myself, I've broken both feet. It was like a year apart from each other. It was like 10 years ago. I can still dance, but sometimes when it gets cold, my feet start to hurt, and I'll use a little bit of THCA tincture. I'll eat that, I'll ingest that, and then some of that pain starts to go away. So from like old injuries and for a little bit of like long-term pain relief, because THCA is more of like a tincture product than a topical product, but they do have topical products with THCA in it. Again, it's all about what's available at the store. I think that's all I have for cannabinoids. Will, if you want to take it away, if there's anything else you want to add, I do have a couple more slides if we want to get into like strains, or I have slides specific for like our STIIZY products like joints, edibles, and things like that.
You know, actually, Cynthia brought up a great idea the other day, which was to organize a field trip. So I think that's something that we can really dive into when we get people in the store, you know, looking at products, all that kind of stuff. I will request that while I'm talking, if there's just one slide I do want on Lorenzo, and that's the one where it shows the different methods of taking CBD or THC on your body, because that's really what I'm going to be talking about here. So, hey, you guys, we're going to get into the next section right here. So you guys heard a little bit about me. My name is William Miller. I'm the general manager of STIIZY Benicia. I've been doing retail a long time, but the part that's more interesting for everybody here is that I used to work for another CBD company under the banner of a different company called Green Growth Brands. They were fantastic. I learned a lot there. You know, they had some COVID issues, and you know, that ultimately didn't end up working out, but I learned a lot while I was there, and they were a CBD topical company. So what that means is that it was all transdermal, right? So that's going to be really where we delve into how CBD can help you, right? So thank you so much, Lorenzo, for going over some of the basics of, you know, what are we talking about, right? I think for those of us in the industry, we get really caught up in having all of our terms, and then so eventually we get so high up there that we forget that you know, we're using an acronym every other word. So keep jotting down those questions. We will go ahead and open it up with Ricky after I'm done talking. So if you have any questions about anything Lorenzo covered or what I'm about to talk about, we have plenty of experts here to help you out. So I'm just going to delve right into it. So CBD is the primary way that people want to have that, like Lorenzo said, have that ability to relieve pain without really having a psychological effect, right? So it's really interesting to me because CBD is usually, thank you so much, Lorenzo. CBD is usually the first step towards legalization, right? Usually what happens is companies, states, or counties or cities will end up trying it out with CBD, seeing how that works, and then seeing what our next steps are. And that usually leads to THC, right? But CBD is most importantly, and that's the one I really want to reiterate, is that it's non-psychoactive, right? No matter how much CBD you ingest in your body, doesn't matter. You are not going to feel a psychoactive effect, period. I know that's normally one of the main concerns, right? I always say weed is I always say cannabis is psychosomatic, right? Everybody, at least once a day, I have somebody that says, oh, I don't really want to feel too out of it, you know, or I got to go to work, or, you know, I've got this project, but I just want to have my anxiety or my pain or my muscles relaxed. So that's where CBD is going to really come in. If I see my team members take CBD all the time, right? I mean, it's no secret that it's going to keep you alert and ready for the day. I honestly compare it to like a more traditional medicine, right? So, you know, if you've got like a headache, CBD can help you with that, right? If you've got some general body aches, CBD can also help you with that. It's kind of amazing how many different things it can help you with. And the main difference in how you take it is really what's going to matter there. So that's my number one question when people start inquiring about CBD is, okay, well, what are you looking to aid? Right? Because if you're looking for something that is a little bit more full body, that's going to be something you're going to want to ingest with one of our edibles, like a tincture, those gummies Lorenzo was talking about, things that are going to spread out from your entire body and create sort of a more radial overall body effect, which for people that have never consumed THC or maybe a little bit inexperienced with it, I have heard that sometimes people say, oh, I thought I felt high, but it really isn't. It's one of those things where it's more what you don't notice, right? So even with really strong really strong CBD brands, you're never going to actually feel like you're impaired. You're going to feel like you took like a good amount of Advil would be a nice way to describe it. Something like, you know, like a body relaxer, but it's not one of those ones that's going to say, oh, make sure you don't drive when you do this, right? So then it really comes down to what the interest in CBD is, right? So it's almost like a little flow chart of questions about, you know, what are we looking for and what are we trying to get out of it? So primarily we got to start with that first question. You know, this is what I would always say. First time anybody ever came up to me at the CBD shop would be, okay, well, what are we looking to treat today, right? And some people would come up with much of a cure-all almost it is. I know that kind of sounds a little hooey, but it really does help with so many things that I would recommend it for a number of ailments. So for instance, you know, Lorenzo gave the anxiety story. That's a perfect example, right? I will tell you, I personally have used CBD for that as well, right? You know, there's times when I used to live in the big city, so there was times when traffic would get really bad, and I'd be sitting there, and you know, I'm getting to work, and I gave myself that time, but you know, life happens, so I'd sit there and I'd fume a little bit with my road rage, and I'd have my little CBD tincture right there, and I'd just drop a little bit into my mouth, under my tongue, and I would cool off and still be okay to go to work without feeling like I was out of it, right? I think that's the number one stigma that people have, is thinking that if you consume CBD, you're going to be high, right? Now, that's where we get into what specific problem you're having, right? So if it's more localized pain, that might be something so that we have a patch or transdermal, like a gel for. There's a lot of different options there, but the most important aspect is how we're ingesting our CBD, right? So if you put it on your body, like say, I've got a bad wrist sometimes, right? I won't bother you guys with the creaking of it, but the point is that sometimes I put CBD on there and it can really help provide a very strong pain numbing effect, right? To the point that if it's like a recurring injury, I had to remind people so much that, hey, this isn't going to fix your problem permanently, right? And I think that's a really important distinction, is people would feel so great and so on top of the moon about their CBD patch that they would say, oh, my injury is gone. I said, whoa, 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 hang on, your knee is still bad. You just don't feel the pain from it, right? So there's a huge difference there, and kind of getting rid of some of that stigma or perhaps lack of true information when we talk about CBD is it's not this sort of crystal-based holistic medicine thing. It's scientifically based, right? But what that means is that we also have to have the disclaimer that it's not going to fix any medical issue, right? I would even recommend that it's not really sort of a longer term solution for things that are pain related, because if you're trying to be like a pro athlete, absolutely. However, if you're trying to do something that is more of a long-term injury, you just have to take it with the knowledge that we're still human beings, right? Just because you feel good doesn't mean that, you should go out and run a mile, right? And furthermore, that gets into our sort of questionnaire that we used to have for how we're trying to treat it. So if you've got like a localized injury, transdermal, right? I'm going to recommend you a Mary's Medicinal patch or a roll-on, things like that. Then if you've got sort of like a more like dull body ache, like my poor sister, she had an ice skating accident when she was a kid, and she fell on her tailbone. And that's one of those injuries that the doctors look at you and they can't really put you in a cast about it. So she uses a lot of CBD, but she actually uses what's called the 1-to-1s, which if you guys remember from what Lorenzo was saying, is an equal part THC CBD, right? So that's where usually people get really interested in terms of what we're talking about. And that's where the next part of my question usually goes is, okay, well, what kind of effect are we looking for? And when are you going to use it, right? Because again, if you're gonna use it for your road rage before work, like I did, I would definitely recommend you use only CBD. However, say that you're gonna watch a movie and maybe it's a scary movie and you want to make sure that you're a little relaxed for it, then I would recommend that you could look into the option of some THC. Now, again, that is going to provide that psychological effect. I like to make it very clear that that's where we draw the line in terms of that it does become psychological. And again, cannabis, like anything else that affects your psychological experience, is all about the mindset of when you go into it. I know a lot of people that really are like, well, the CBD is working for me. I kind of want to experiment with some THC. The problem then becomes that they are afraid when they take it. And that's just going to give you a bad effect no matter what, because cannabis lasts in your system if you smoke it for about 2 to 3 hours, but if you ingest it, it can last as long as 8 hours. So what happens is people take even the smallest amount, and it won't really even matter what the amount is. It's more on the mindset that they had when they went into it, and it becomes a bad roller coaster trip, if I'm being honest with you, right? It becomes, I want to get off this ride, I want it to stop, but unfortunately, once it's in your system, it's very hard to dilute your body. So and actually have that effect go away. So I usually tell people that are looking to experiment with THC for the first time, hey, take it in a very safe environment, right? I would always recommend, there's a couple rules. If you're trying to jot this down, I had a couple quick rules, but if you're ever trying to start on THC, I would recommend a couple things. One is you're going to want to make sure you got a buddy with you, right? Having anybody with you at any time will make it better. Have a loved one, a really good friend. Have someone that is your anchor person, right? That if you ever say, oh, I'm not feeling good, they'll help you out, right? 2, make sure you're hydrated and well fed, right? It's no secret that what we just talked about was diluting your blood with CBD or THC. And if your blood is a little bit thinner because you haven't eaten, maybe your blood sugar is a little low, maybe you just went on a run, it's going to hit you a lot harder and a lot quicker. I always describe that kind of like having a beer, right? So if you have a beer after a big old meal, you might not even feel it, right? But if you wake up in the morning and you have a beer, you'll probably feel it a lot more, right? So it's all about how we ingest it, because it is a system that goes into your blood like anything else to produce that sort of effect. And we really want to make sure that people understand what they're getting into. That's one of the biggest ones that I, both on a personal and professional level, really try to help people understand. Specifically because so many people, I'm sure all of us know one person that said, I tried some cannabis and it just didn't work for me, or I didn't like it, or I had some sort of bad effect, right? And I really want to minimize, if not extinguish that entirely. And the way we do that is by saying, first off, do you even need THC? Is that something that you feel like, well, maybe is a little bit of a stronger effect? Maybe you want to relax a little bit more. Then we would look into THC, but a lot of people are satisfied with CBD. Not that it's like a lesser effect, it's just different, right? So Then we get into like sort of how we combine them, right? So we do have in our STIIZY pods, we do have what are called one-to-ones. So it's a nice flavor. It's mango, and it's got equal parts CBD and THC. Now that's going to provide you sort of a combined effect, whereas something that's purely CBD is just going to provide you that anti-anxiety and the anti-inflammation, all those great effects. Something that has THC in it as well is going to provide you sort of a combination of both. We call that the entourage effect, which is a little bit fun. But essentially what that means is that you're looking to have the best of both worlds there. You're looking to have some nice anti-anxiety effects, muscle relaxants, but also you have that THC effect of, psychoactive, a lot more immediate pain relief that actually has proven to be extremely effective. So once we figure out what people are, one, what are you looking to, what purpose, got you? Everybody's got a reason, right? And it helps understand what you're trying to use the CBD for to help get you there. So one, what are we looking at, right? Two, are you comfortable with getting high? Do you want to? Because if not, hey, we've got a lot of options that are like that. But if you do, we've got some more options. And I never want people to feel like it's like a obligation, right? Like, oh, well, if I'm going to do it, I might as well jump in the deep end, right? It's like, no. You want I always recommend that people take it nice and slow. Maybe start out with one of the patches. Those are nice costs there. You can even cut them up if you'd like to, and really make sure that you take your time getting the proper amount of CBD in your system. But essentially, that goes over everything that I wanted to talk about in terms of making sure that we get the right product to the right person, right? And again, just to sort of cap it off with that CBN, right? The CBN will make you sleepy. So if that's something that you're not looking for, I would not recommend you take a CBN gummy in the morning, right? And that's sort of getting rid of that stigma about people, not knowing what they're getting, right? Back when cannabis was unregulated, you get it from a guy, you don't know what's in it and all that stuff. But STIIZY actually, not only do we have seed to sale with all of our CBA, a certificate of business analysis, all of it, but we also go the extra mile by having a QR code on all of our pods that you can actually scan to verify that it's a real STIIZY pod. And we'll show you the tracking number and all of that thing. So STIIZY tries extremely hard to get rid of a lot of those long built up stigmas, right? That have come from just, lack of information and all sorts of other sources. But the main point is that once you know what you're getting into, it doesn't have to be this scary, amalgamous sort of enigma where you're just kind of diving into the deep end and hoping that you have a nice 8-hour marijuana effect, right? So with that, I'm going to go ahead and open it up to questions with Ricky. I know we talked about a lot here. I'm not sure how we're doing on time, but I've got plenty of time here to answer any and all questions you guys may have. If there's anything anybody else wanted to talk about, Ricky, if you've got anything, otherwise we'll just pass it over to open mic. Don't be shy, you guys. We do this all the time. Seriously, ask me any questions. Go ahead. Mr. Mayor, go ahead, Steve. What's up?
Well, for the benefit of the group, I just wanted to let them know that STIIZY, in addition to all the other things they're doing, has decided to open a distribution center in Benicia, which we're in the process of trying to approve all of their necessary permits at this time. But once that happens, it could be a huge boon to the community in terms of additional taxes that we're going to get. So I want to thank STIIZY and their corporate people for that decision. It's going to be out at the end of the industrial park. And they're building I believe they're building a new warehouse facility to make this happen. So that's certainly good news. The other question I had to do is just more of a general one, and how you guys are doing in terms of sales out of the Benicia store. I've only been in there once at the grand opening. So I was just wondering if you could tell us in general how sales have been trending.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's one of the things we keep our finger on all the time. We've been growing not only in transactions, but in number of products, in terms of foot traffic. We've really been ramping up. One of the things we keep track of more than anything else is the number of new patients we get. So we've still been having a huge influx of people who it's their first time here, just getting ready for things. And then we're starting to get that longer term base as well. I'd say it's maybe once a week that we still get people that say, I didn't even know this was here, right? It's people that have been here for a while. So it's definitely exciting. And the numbers are hugely going up. I mean, we started off at a little bit below the 5-figure mark per day, but now we're well into it, hoping to honestly be double from when we opened, and we show no signs of slowing down. So that means all kinds of career opportunities. We have all kinds of exciting stuff happening here. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking forward to seeing the quarterly sales tax information.
Oh yeah, I can show you all that. We've got plenty to talk about. I'll go over numbers with you all day if you like.
Okay, well, I assume it'll be coming up with the rest of the sales tax quarterly information
Yep.
that we'll be getting from economic development. And then the last comment I had was when I first went in there at the grand opening, I was struck by, I mean, it is very pretty and well lit and clean and everything. But I thought that the signage and the advertising at that time was, really focused on younger people. Had a lot of young, half-clothed kids. I want to say kids, but adults, obviously, enjoying the products. And there was a loud, loud music. And I wanted to be sure, and I assume you have done this, but I want to be sure that you understand that our community and the users of cannabis, the community itself is older than most communities you're probably going into. We are, I think the number is close to 40% of the population is over 55. And I'm hopeful that you will be cognizant of that, as your customer base is probably a little bit different in Benicia than it is perhaps in downtown LA or other places where you are. And that I just want to make sure people are not uncomfortable going in there, and that you're treating them, appropriately. And then the last thing, I haven't really seen you guys do much advertising. And so it's a little surprising, I mean, I'm glad that business is increasing, but I just wondered what it would be if you were actually, buying ads in the local paper or magazines or anything like that. But that's all the comments I had, but I just wondered if you wanted to respond to any of that.
No, absolutely, Steve. Thanks for bringing that up. That's one thing that I feel that I, not uniquely, but can especially bring to the table is, the ambassador part of it, and realizing what we need, right? That's really my core focus is making sure that we're serving the community properly, right? I actually did get a chance to work with Ricky, and we actually did just shift up a bunch of our products. So we just requested that a bunch of our wellness products stay, and that a little bit more of our wax and concentrates and whatnot actually shipped to another store. So that's a really good point. That yes, I agree 100% that one, we're doing everything we can on the product and all of the customer service levels as well. It's no secret to say that STIIZY's mission statement talks about exceptional customer service and long-term customer loyalty. So with that, we really make sure, and I really make sure, that everybody knows that everybody's different, right? And that's why I try to really help understand that not everybody comes in with the same issue, right? Not everybody wants to get high. Not everybody wants to have a sleeping effect or whatnot. So that's something we try extremely hard to do here, is make sure that it's a personalized experience. And that helps out a ton, because everybody's looking for a different experience. That's why they say, always tip your budtenders, because they help you out with your psychological, or lack thereof, experience. And as for the advertising, that's something that's extremely interesting for me as well. I know that STIIZY does we do events, right? So we were at the Emerald Cup. I had the privilege of going there. So we do some community organizing and whatnot as well. But you're right in terms of the actual billboards or online advertisements as well. That is definitely something that would be exciting. But like you said, it's also very exciting to, still be ramping up as is. Word of mouth has definitely gotten around. But yeah, we saw no signs of slowing down. I hope I answered your question there. Yes. You're welcome. Okay, then looks like Greg, you've had your hand up the longest. Appreciate your guys' time there. What kind of questions can I answer for you? Oh, looks like, are we muted?
Yeah, sorry. I don't sleep at all. I just don't sleep at all. After I got to a certain age, I'm wide awake all night long, and I've tried tons of different solutions. And I did take some sleep CBD stuff, I guess, from a Vallejo store, but when we went there, I felt like the people who worked there didn't really care much about what my particular problem was. And also I didn't think that they knew much about the exact malady and the relationship to the product. So it sounds like from what, especially what Lorenzo said, that you folks really know that. And I'm just asking, are your employees, well, we looked at your website, and on the website, it's unclear what about the relationship to some of the products to particular.
What the product names are and how they relate to CBD, CBN, and so on and so forth. It doesn't look like things are grouped by composition. So it's a little confusing.
Also, where are you? I don't think you said your address.
That's easy to find.
Oh, we're right off the freeway. We're on 160 East N Street in Benicia, right by there's family dentistry. There's a little McDonald's right over here. But more on your point about customized experiences, I think Ricky can attest to. He's been in the industry much longer than I have, about how we've sort of evolved in that end, right? About how I would say that's sort of one of those stigmas that we are really separating ourselves from, is the idea that, you know, you're going to walk into a dirty or smelly or, you know, smoke filled, in some cases, that's a real thing in some dispensaries, that are, frankly, you know, a lot of those places we're operating illegally. You know, just to be honest with you, is a lot of those are underground, not able to advertise. Or if they are doing things, they are fingers crossing that they are not getting inspected by the Bureau of Cannabis Control, which we just had a surprise inspection last week, and everything we do is above board. We try extremely hard to make sure that everything we do is regulated, above board. Everything's out in the open. We have inspections all the time. So that is something that has really taken an initiative for STIIZY in particular, is because we want to provide that next level, right? We've been called the Apple Store of cannabis, and I agree with that 100%, right? I've worked in a lot of different areas, and I will tell you that this is one of the cleanest places I've ever worked at. We've got our cleaning duties, we have our cleaning crews. I'm always making sure that we provide excellent customer service. But that's something with the personalized approach and the making sure that we actually care about somebody. That's why none of my team members are, high, right? I think that's another really big stigma that people had is, oh, I'm going to walk in there and there's going to be some guy that reeks of weed and, is just going to try to say, what's up, dude? And, not really pay attention to me. And that's not what we do here, right? We really try to be that next level Apple Store experience. And we've come a long way in that too. The training has definitely evolved as we've come since 2017. We're coming up on our 5-year anniversary. And while we were already head and shoulders above the competition, in my opinion, we've continued to develop that. We talk about things every day to make a better customer experience. So I hope that answers your question there.
And just to wrap up real quick, like part of what we train and part of what, our duties are is to maintain and make sure that they are equipped with that information about CBN, about CBD, to be able to answer and address any of those questions that you might have.
Can I
Absolutely. And then, we've got one more hand up. Go ahead.
A couple things. One, if you look at everybody who's on board, you'll realize we're seniors. And I think Steve brought it up. And one of the things in marketing, maybe you want to have somebody who's a specialist for seniors as marketing. And the second thing is drug interactions. Have you looked at, most of us are into polypharmacology. We wake up in the morning and we take a handful of pills. We go to sleep, we take a handful of pills. And if we're lucky, we don't have to take a handful at lunch. What's the interactions with the CBDs, the CBNs, and all of that? And is there a THC that attaches to a chemical parts of nerve fibers and all the science of that? Too many questions, probably.
No. I love it. So your first point about the advertising, yeah, that's something that I, as a CBD expert, have tried to really pass on to my team in terms of having an expert here in store. But that's something I've been pushing extremely hard here as well, is making sure that we've got the right products, we have the right knowledge, that everyone's getting that exceptional personalized experience. With the advertising, that's a really important one. Ricky and I are going to double back on that and see what we can do about, maybe changing up even some of our logos, things like that, because I agree with you. One of the things that STIIZY tries to do is always be all inclusive as well. I know there's some alternative marketing, but we want to make it clear that cannabis is for everyone, right? We try to be the ultimate one-stop shop. So we definitely don't want to feel like anybody's excluded or make anybody feel like, they're not welcome, right? And, I understand that there's part of the sort of the atmosphere that carries over, but that's not meant to be exclusionary. It's meant to be more, energy building, right? So, and we have changed some of the music, we have, changed some of our videos and things like that. So if there's anything in the future that comes up, we definitely are still looking at it. But to answer your second question about the interactions. So just to be 100% honest with you, we're not doctors, right? If you're ever worried about it, always speak with your doctor, always speak with your physician, always ask them. Now, that being said, in my own personal experience, I have not heard of anyone, nor have I seen anyone that has had an adverse reaction. I do not know that of any particular, like, oh, I take medication X and it really interferes with my cannabis, right? Or interferes with my CBD or whatnot. To my knowledge, they're pretty separate. But again, it's one of those things that, especially if we're dealing with the with the THC side, that you want to be sure that you go into it with a good conscience and confidence in what you're doing, right? Because if you're worried about it affecting your medication and you take a psychoactive effect, that might give you a bad psychoactive effect because, again, it's in the back of your mind. It's not, it's something that will overall affect how you think about it. It's like, going on a roller coaster with a tummy ache, right? It's like, you want to make sure you center yourself first. But yes, just to circle back is, if you're ever worried about it, if you're ever curious, most doctors I know are have cannabis questions all the time. So it's more common than you would think. But yeah, always check with your physician first if you're ever curious about any of it. But like I said, I personally haven't had anything, but I hope that answers your question. And then I know we had the meeting host ready to go.
Yeah, Diane's had her hand up for
Yeah,
a
go
long
ahead.
time. Yeah. Okay. Oh yeah, and I'll just add to that. As a Kaiser patient, I've noticed that when my prescriptions come, if there's any concern, it says that now they're mentioning marijuana, as a possible, watch out if you're taking this drug or something. Yeah, so they do say that. But the question I have is, I have been dealing with an unusual central nervous system chronic pain for about 5 years now, and I've used a variety of different cannabis products. And I'm curious about, I'm currently using a vape cartridge that is full spectrum live resin. And so I'm wondering if you can say something to me about, are there any particular benefits to full spectrum live resin in terms of what it does for me? I mean, I use it for a temporary amount of pain relief, and I enjoy the pleasure of getting a little high too. So, but I'm just wondering about what is the difference here between these live resin
Absolutely. So I had mentioned earlier that we have like 3 different tiers of pods, and the first 2 tiers of pods only focus on THC in their extraction process. So they're designed to flood your endocannabinoid system with specifically THC. And I'm glad that you brought up live resin, because it does say on the box a full spectrum product. So the extraction process there is extracting not only THC, but it's extracting the CBD, the THCA, the CBN, all those cannabinoids that work together in tandem in the entourage effect that Will had mentioned. So I had mentioned like a 20-to-1 CBD gummy. There's always going to be a little bit of THC because they work in tandem with each other when they're entering your endocannabinoid. So having a full spectrum product, you get everybody at the party, you get all of those cannabinoids into your system, which I feel is a better process. The live resin carts are typically my favorite. That's not to say that distillate products are bad. Again, like my dad, for example, I gave him a live resin cart and he liked it. He really enjoyed the flavor. But as he smoked it, he said he didn't feel like, really high off of it. He was more satisfied like smoking his joints. When I got him a distillate pen or distillate cartridge, which again just focuses on THC, he smoked that alongside his alongside his joint, and it really just like shot him high. And so like that's great if you're looking for that, but like you said, in your experience where it does provide that pain relief, that's that THC and CBD working in tandem to provide some of those pain relief. So yeah, any kind of like live resin product, it will be psychoactive, but because it is a full spectrum extract, it will provide benefits of having all the other cannabinoids active in your body. Does that answer a little bit? Any other question? I see Maria has a question.
Well, actually, I have a comment. So I think many of you are, as a child of the 60s and 70s, I did my share of smoking, homegrown, and enjoyed that, but quit for most of my life. And just recently dipped my toe back into this. No experience with the dispensary experience. And so I did try a couple out here in my hometown. And I can relate, talking about what Steve was talking about, that, is this targeted at me? Is this targeted at stoners, and sort of that vibe of, gangstery looking people outside my local dispensary. So I tried out STIIZY, and the first one I went to was in Davis, which is a college town. And even there, immaculate store, friendliest people I've ever met in my life, who really, really listened to me. They listened to me. I explained what my situation was, pain, sleep, and the products they recommended really worked out for me. I was curious about Benicia. I used to be in advertising, so I know all about targeted advertising. And, seniors, we are a different demographic, And so when I pulled up to the STIIZY in Benicia, I was just astonished. It's gorgeous, you guys. It's gorgeous. It feels safe. It's clean. I went inside. Everybody was friendly. The place was immaculate. And I really felt cared for. I mean, despite the, young vibe and the videos, the music, whatever, it was so clean and so bright and such friendly people. I would just really encourage all of you to go check it out. I got recommended some other products, and I would be an evangelist for STIIZY Benicia. It's just a wonderful, wonderful place.
Much appreciated. Thank you so much. I know Will, Ricky, and I all work for those kinds of reviews, work for, those kinds of rave reviews. So it's good to hear that our work is being, reciprocated well and, received well from the community.
Yeah, thank you for that feedback, Maria. That means a lot to us. To touch on the targeted marketing, I understand that, some of the graphics or some of the things on the TV can definitely cater more toward the younger crowd. That being said, that's just normally how STIIZY opens all of their stores. And if you guys have direct feedback, I'm there on a weekly basis. Will is there on a daily basis. But we would really love to cater this store to our demographic, which we know is, a little bit of an older community, and we don't want to display anything or, do anything in our store that is going to turn any of you off in any way to coming in and, finding the correct alternative medicine for yourselves. So, Mr. Mayor as well, if you guys have any feedback, like I said, I'm there on a weekly basis. Will is there on a daily basis. And if there are things that we need to fine tune as far as the in-store graphics or what is displayed on our televisions or anything like that, we would love to work hand in hand with you guys, make sure that we are targeting the demographic correctly and just making sure that our store is a place where everyone feels included and everyone feels comfortable, most importantly, comfortable coming inside of our store and, just taking part in finding their medicine.
Could I ask you guys to send me your contact information? I've been dealing with TAC down in LA on most of this stuff, but I'd like to be able to talk to the local people. So if you could maybe just put it in chat or send me something with your name and phone numbers so that I can get to the right people when I need to. Thank you.
I see Barbara's got a question.
I do. I was very interested in what you said about THCA having sort of a full pain relief effect without the high. Is it possible to get a product that is discreetly THCA?
Yes, absolutely. There is, like I mentioned, Will has also mentioned that there are patches that we have. So if you've ever heard of like a nicotine patch, it's a similar technology. It goes onto like a thin layer of your skin, and it is a specific THCA patch that you can put on. And it will provide it's a transdermal, so it gets into your skin, and it'll provide that like local pain relief. There are also tinctures. So if you're not looking for like a local pain relief, you're looking for something a little bit more like, whole body. There are tinctures as well that you can take, and they have on the box labeled like how much you should be taking, or they have like dashes on like the actual little dabber that they have in the bottle that'll show you the increments that you should be taking.
Yeah, thanks.
So
And I'll say on that point too, almost all of the THC, or I'm sorry, almost all the CBD products are very discreet. Like a patch, a tincture, it doesn't have any smell, it doesn't have any, they barely even have any flavor, to be honest with you. So, it's one of those things that people can sort of just put in their little medicine bag. I know I carry around a little pure CBD tincture, again, I suffer migraines, like I'm sure many of you do too. So if I'm having a really bad migraine, the Advil is just not doing it. That tincture will really help me out because it'll give me sort of a nice anti-anxiety effect, but I'm still sharp, right? That's what I'm really trying to do. It's no secret that we talk a lot, right? And it would be so obvious if I wasn't sharp. So that's something we try to do. Go ahead, Barbara.
The reason that I asked the question was that I've been a chronic pain patient for some years. It's primarily back pain. And I've tried the CBD gummies and the CBD tincture, and neither of them provided any relief at all.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That's why I talk about. That's why we try to educate the sales associates to be able to provide some info on how THC isn't just a psychoactive cannabinoid; it can be a pain relieving one as well.
Yeah, and with that too, that brings up a really good point about how everybody's different, right? I found people that, just in my own experience working in CBD for a couple of years, people that had said, "Oh my goodness, this little 10 milligram here or there, that changed my life." But then other people say, I tried this 1,000 milligram thing and it didn't do anything, right? So it's really not experimentation. It's more on testing what works for you. That's why if people are curious about it, I usually recommend they start on the CBD side, on the non-psychoactive, because, if your pain goes away with some CBD, great, that's awesome. We're happy that you're able to be sharp, but some people like my sister that have a little bit more of the chronic pain, you might want to go a little bit more towards that THC side. But just to be clear, you can get very mildly psychoactive stuff as well. That's where one of those one-to-ones might be helpful, that it's not going to, couch lock you or anything like that. But yeah, personalized experience is really what I would say there. And just to be clear is that if you ever wanted to say, oh, the CBD dosage wasn't working for me, you can double it. You can triple it, right? No amount of CBD is ever going to make you feel out of it, anxious or anything like that, is because it's, again, non-psychoactive. I would just recommend that, you take it with some food or whatnot. But, if maybe a little bit's not working, you can absolutely double the dose. You don't have to worry about it because, like, you eat a THC edible and you want to double the dose, that might get you a little bit couch locked. But if you're just looking to do CBD, yeah, try a stronger dose, and then if that's not working for you, try a stronger product.
I'll try that. Thanks.
I'm just going to interrupt to say we're at the end of our time. Any last burning question anyone wants to ask?
I will say too, you guys, please stop by STIIZY Benicia. I'm here all the time. I left my email and my phone number in chat too. Please email me any questions you guys might have. I love answering it. You're not taking away my time. I know Lorenzo and Ricky are always here for you guys as well. I would love to get a field trip going, but yeah, if anybody's got any questions, I'm here for you.
Last
Just
question,
to,
last call.
Just to add for Barbara for back pain, before I worked at STIIZY, I was a carpenter for 10 years. I was a framer, so my back has been through a lot as far as framing and lifting walls. So it may help if you try some targeted CBD or THCA. I know for myself, when my back flares up, usually a topical like a lotion or a balm works really well. Or if that's not doing it, then I like to do a patch, and you just stick the patch on your back and give it about 30 minutes to an hour. It'll start releasing all that goodness, and it should be a lot more effective than a gummy would be, in my opinion, for you.
Got it. Yeah. I mean, I've had back surgery, several back surgeries, so I've got a lot of scar tissue, and it's not episodic. It's always mostly when I'm walking, when I move. So I will try upping the dosage significantly as to gather more information before I come to see you guys.
Sounds good. We would definitely love to help you out whenever you decide to make a trip down to the store.
Okay, everybody, thank you so much for attending our presentation. And gentlemen, thank you so much for your expertise. I've learned, is that Lorenzo with his hand up? Did you want to say something before we go?
He was just
I
waving.
was saying
goodbye.
peace.
You can say it, okay, peace out, all right?
Thank you for your time,
everyone.
everybody.
Thank you, Diane. Bye-bye.
Everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you. Adios.